I think royal duty is extremely important. I think it's part of the fabric of.
Prince William is said to be drawing a hard line that could keep Prince Harry away from Balmoral, while King Charles quietly steps into a stronger leadership role. At the same time, attention grows around Queen Elizabeth's 100th milestone and what it means for the royal family's future. But is this really happening, or is something deeper being hidden? Join us to find out. The Balmoral impact. Recent discussions from royal watchers and insiders have pointed to the idea that William is becoming more protective of this space and of the people within it. These reports do not come from official palace statements, but they continue to spread because they connect with something people already sense. The relationship between William and Harry is no longer what it used to be. Over the years, their bond has changed in ways that are hard to ignore. What once looked like a strong brotherly connection has slowly turned into distance, shaped by different choices, different paths, and very public moments that pulled them apart. In this situation, Balmoral becomes more than a location. It becomes a symbol. It represents family, trust, and history. It was also the place where Queen Elizabeth II spent her final days, which adds even deeper meaning to it. Because of this, there is a growing feeling that William may see Balmoral as something that must be protected at all costs, especially during a time when the royal family is trying to stay steady and united in the public eye. At the same time, Harry's life has taken a very different direction. After stepping back from royal duties, he built a new life far away, focusing on his own family and personal freedom. While this decision gave him space, it also created a gap between him and the rest of the royal household. Over time, that gap has been filled with misunderstandings, public attention, and moments that made rebuilding trust more difficult. Because of this, even the idea of returning to a place like Balmoral is no longer simple. What makes the situation feel even more intense is the timing. The royal family is going through a period of quiet change, with King Charles III now leading the monarchy. As the new king settles into his role, there is a strong focus on stability and continuity. In moments like this, decisions about who is included in private family gatherings can carry larger meaning. It is not just about personal feelings anymore. It becomes tied to the image and future of the monarchy itself. From this point of view, the reports about William drawing a line may not only be about emotion, but also about responsibility. As the future king, he is expected to think ahead, to protect the institution, and to make choices that keep things steady. This can sometimes mean making difficult decisions, especially when personal relationships are involved. Even though nothing has been officially confirmed, the idea fits into a bigger picture that many people are already watching closely. Still, it is important to understand that much of this remains unconfirmed. The royal family is known for keeping private matters away from the public, which leaves space for speculation to grow. People connect small pieces of information, read between the lines, and try to understand what might be happening behind closed doors. That is why stories like this gain attention so quickly. They mix real history with unanswered questions, creating a sense of mystery that draws people in. What keeps this story alive is not just the possibility of a decision being made, but what it represents. It touches on family, loyalty, change, and the pressure of living in a role that the whole world watches. It makes people wonder whether healing is still possible, or if the distance between the brothers has become too wide to close. It also raises questions about how the next generation of royal leadership will handle challenges that are both deeply personal and highly public. As the conversation continues to grow, one thing becomes clear. This is not only about a place or a single decision. It is about a family trying to move forward while carrying the weight of its past. It is about roles changing, responsibilities increasing, and relationships being tested in ways that are difficult to manage quietly. And just when it seems like the situation could not become more layered, keep watching as we explore how King Charles is shaping the future, and whether a quiet shift in responsibility is already unfolding behind the scenes. Inside the royal rift. In their younger years, they were often seen side by side, sharing duties, supporting each other, and carrying the memory of their mother together. That shared experience created a deep connection that many people admired. They were not just brothers by blood, but also partners in responsibility, growing into their roles within the royal family at the same time. Because of this history, the shift in their relationship feels even more noticeable now.
Or I'm sure people will have told you about some of the stories, some of the headlines in recent weeks and months, work-shy William, I think.
As time went on, their lives began to move in different directions. William remained closely tied to royal duties, preparing for a future that would place him at the center of the monarchy. His path became more structured, guided by tradition and expectation. On the other hand, Harry started to express a desire for a different kind of life, one that allowed more freedom and less pressure from royal rules. This difference in direction slowly created space between them, even before anything became public. The turning point came when Harry decided to step back from his role as a working royal in 2020. That decision marked a major change, not only for him, but also for the family as a whole. It meant moving away from daily royal responsibilities and building a life outside the system they had both grown up in. While this move gave Harry the independence he wanted, it also made regular contact and shared experiences with William less frequent. As the years passed, several public moments added more weight to the situation. Interviews, personal stories, and open discussions about royal life brought private matters into the spotlight. These moments were watched closely around the world, and they shaped how people understood the relationship between the brothers. For William, who continues to carry a role that depends on stability and privacy, these public revelations may have felt difficult to manage. For Harry, they may have been a way to share his truth and explain his choices. Because of this, trust has become one of the biggest questions surrounding their relationship. When private experiences are discussed openly, it can create a sense of distance that is hard to close. Rebuilding that trust takes time, patience, and a willingness from both sides to meet again in the middle. So far, there have been very few signs of that happening in a clear and steady way, which keeps the sense of separation alive. Even when they appear at the same events, the difference is noticeable. Their interactions are often brief, careful, and closely watched. Small gestures, such as where they stand or how they speak, are studied by the public, adding even more pressure to an already sensitive situation. This constant attention makes it harder for any private healing to take place, because every moment becomes part of a larger story told by the media and discussed by audiences everywhere. At the same time, both men now have their own families and responsibilities that shape their priorities. William's focus is on preparing for his future role and supporting the monarchy as it moves into a new era. Harry's focus is on his life outside the royal system, building something that reflects his personal values and choices. These different responsibilities make it harder for their paths to come together in a simple way, even if there is still a connection beneath the surface. All of this helps explain why the situation around Balmoral feels so important. It is not just about a visit or a gathering, it reflects the current state of their relationship. If there is distance between them, it naturally affects where they meet, how they interact, and whether they are able to share the same space comfortably. That is why reports about boundaries or decisions tied to Balmoral carry so much meaning. They are seen as signs of where things stand between the brothers right now. Yet, despite everything, there remains a quiet sense of uncertainty. Relationships, especially within families, can change over time. What feels distant today may not remain that way forever. Many people continue to watch, wondering if there will be a moment when both sides take a step closer again. That possibility, even if it feels small, keeps the story open and unfinished. As attention stays fixed on this strained connection, another question begins to rise in the background. While the brothers navigate their differences, there is a larger shift happening within the royal family itself. With new leadership in place, many are beginning to look closely at how responsibility is being shared and whether the future is already being shaped in quiet ways that are not immediately visible. Why Balmoral means everything to the royal family. For generations, Balmoral has been the setting for private gatherings, quiet conversations, and moments that never make headlines. It is where traditions are passed down in simple ways, like shared meals, long walks, and time spent together without pressure. Because of this, it has become a symbol of trust and closeness. Being invited there is not just about visiting a home, it reflects a deeper level of acceptance within the family circle. That is why any suggestion that someone might not be included feels much bigger than it sounds. The emotional weight of Balmoral grew even stronger in recent years, especially because it is closely linked to Queen Elizabeth II. It was one of her most loved places, where she felt most at ease. Many people remember that she spent her final days there, which adds a quiet sense of history and reflection to everything connected to the estate. Because of this, Balmoral is no longer just a retreat. It has become a place tied to memory, legacy, and the passing of an era. This deeper meaning changes how every decision connected to Balmoral is understood. It is no longer just about who visits and who does not. It becomes about respect for tradition, protection of family space, and the desire to keep certain moments private. For someone like Prince William, who is preparing for a future role at the very top of the monarchy, places like this carry a responsibility. They are part of what he will one day protect and preserve, not only for his own family, but for the continuity of the royal story. At the same time, Balmoral also reflects the contrast between past and present. In earlier years, it was a place where the whole family could gather without tension, where differences were set aside for the sake of togetherness. Now, with relationships changing and paths moving in different directions, the idea of everyone coming together there feels less certain. That shift makes the estate feel almost like a mirror, showing how much has changed within the family itself. For Prince Harry, the meaning of Balmoral is likely just as deep, but shaped by a different journey. It holds memories of earlier years, of shared experiences with his brother and the rest of the family. At the same time, it may also represent a world he has stepped away from, one that no longer fits easily with the life he has built. This mix of memory and distance adds another layer to the situation, making any return feel emotionally complex rather than simple. Because of all this, Balmoral stands as more than just a background in this story. It becomes a powerful symbol of what is at stake. It represents unity, but also highlights separation. It holds the past, while being part of decisions that affect the future. That is why even quiet reports connected to it can spark so much attention. People understand, even without being told directly, that what happens around Balmoral often reflects something deeper happening within the family. As the royal family continues to adjust to a new chapter, the importance of such spaces becomes even clearer. They are not only places of rest, but also anchors that hold the family together during times of change. Protecting them means protecting a sense of identity and continuity that has lasted for generations. Any shift in how these spaces are used or who is included naturally raises questions about what the future might look like. And as those questions grow, they begin to connect with a wider picture that is slowly unfolding. While Balmoral represents the heart of the family's private world, there is also a broader transformation happening in public view. With King Charles III now leading, attention is starting to move toward how responsibility is being shaped behind the scenes, and whether the next phase of leadership is already taking form in ways that are quiet but deeply significant. Charles and the quiet shift of power. This idea of a shift in power is not something officially announced or clearly defined. Instead, it is seen through small actions, public appearances, and the way responsibilities are being handled over time. Charles has long understood the demands of the crown, having spent decades preparing for it. Because of this, it would not be surprising if he is also thinking ahead, making sure that the next generation is ready to step forward when the time comes.
That they recognise the importance for you to be partially exempted from that.
In this picture, Prince William naturally stands at the center. As the Prince of Wales, he carries a role that already places him close to the heart of the monarchy's future. Over recent years, he has taken on more visible responsibilities, representing the royal family at key events, supporting important causes, and building his own presence as a leader. These actions do not mean that power has been officially handed over, but they do suggest a growing level of trust and expectation. What makes this moment interesting is how smooth and quiet everything appears. Unlike dramatic changes that are announced with clear statements, this transition feels almost invisible, happening step by step. Duties are shared, appearances are balanced, and roles are adjusted in a way that keeps the system stable. This approach reflects the royal family's long-standing preference for continuity, where change happens without disruption. At the same time, this gradual shift is closely tied to public perception. People are watching more carefully than ever, trying to understand who is taking the lead and how the future is being shaped. When William steps forward more often, it naturally leads to questions about whether he is already acting in a larger capacity. These moments, though subtle, build a picture that suggests preparation rather than immediate change. The timing also adds another layer to the conversation. With reflections around Queen Elizabeth II becoming stronger, especially as milestones connected to her legacy are remembered, there is a growing sense of transition from one era to another. Charles represents continuity from the past, while William represents what lies ahead. The connection between them becomes a bridge, linking experience with renewal. For Charles, balancing these roles is likely a careful task. On one hand, he must lead with confidence and authority. On the other, he must create space for William to grow into his future position. This balance requires patience and planning, ensuring that the monarchy remains steady while also evolving. It is not about stepping aside, but about strengthening what comes next. All of this explains why talk of a power transfer continues to circulate, even without official confirmation. People are responding to what they see. As the years passed, several public moments added more weight to the situation. Interviews, personal stories, and open discussions about royal life brought private matters into the spotlight, reading meaning into actions rather than announcements. The idea itself becomes part of the story, feeding curiosity and discussion. It reflects a natural human desire to understand how leadership changes over time, especially in an institution as historic as the monarchy. At the same time, it is important to remember that the structure of the royal family does not change quickly. Roles are defined by tradition, and transitions follow a clear path. What is happening now appears to be less about immediate shifts and more about long-term preparation. It is a process, not an event, shaped by time rather than sudden decisions. As this quiet evolution continues, it connects back to everything else unfolding within the family. Leadership, relationships, and legacy are all moving together, influencing one another in ways that are not always visible, but deeply felt. And just as this picture begins to form more clearly, another powerful moment enters the conversation, one that brings history, memory, and the future into a single focus, drawing attention to a milestone that carries both emotion and meaning for the entire royal story. A turning point for the monarchy. For many, this milestone is not only about looking back, but also about understanding what comes next. Queen Elizabeth II represented stability in a way that few figures ever have. Through changing times, global events, and personal challenges within the family, she remained a steady presence. Because of this, her 100th birthday feels like a bridge between the past and the future, a moment that invites both reflection and quiet questions about how things have changed since her time. This is where the current situation within the royal family becomes even more meaningful. As discussions continue about Prince William, Prince Harry, and the evolving role of King Charles III, the memory of the late Queen adds emotional depth to every detail. It creates a sense that everything happening now is part of a larger story, one that did not begin today and will not end anytime soon.
There was no way to win this through the courts. Wish someone had told me that beforehand.
During her lifetime, Queen Elizabeth II was often seen as the quiet force that held the family together, even during difficult times. Her approach was calm, measured, and focused on duty above all else. She rarely allowed personal matters to disrupt the public role she carried, and that sense of discipline became a defining part of her legacy. Now, as the family moves forward without her, there is a noticeable difference in how situations are handled, simply because her unique presence can no longer guide them in the same way. This difference becomes especially clear when looking at the relationship between William and Harry. Many people believed that the Queen had a way of keeping balance within the family, offering a sense of unity even when disagreements existed. Without her, those disagreements appear more visible, and the distance between the brothers feels more pronounced. The milestone of her 100th birthday brings this reality into sharper focus, reminding everyone of the role she once played in maintaining harmony. At the same time, this moment also highlights the idea of transition. The monarchy is not static. It changes with each generation. With King Charles III now leading, there is a shift in tone, style, and approach. While he continues the traditions passed down to him, he also brings his own perspective, shaped by his experiences and the time in which he now reigns. Alongside him, Prince William represents the future, carrying expectations that grow stronger with each passing year. The connection between these three generations, Queen Elizabeth II, King Charles III, and Prince William, creates a powerful narrative. It shows a line of continuity, but also a natural progression. Each has a role in shaping the monarchy, and each reflects a different moment in history. Interviews, personal stories, and open discussions about royal life brought private matters into the spotlight. The Queen's 100th birthday becomes a point where all these threads come together, allowing people to see how far things have come and where they might be heading. For Prince Harry, this milestone may hold a different kind of meaning. It connects him to a past filled with shared experiences and personal memories, especially those tied to his grandmother. At the same time, it exists alongside his present life, which is now separate from the daily workings of the royal family. This mix of connection and distance adds another layer to the story, making the moment feel both personal and complex. Public interest around this time is expected to grow, as people reflect on the Queen's life and the impact she had. There may be tributes, discussions, and renewed attention on her achievements and her role in shaping modern monarchy. But alongside this, there will also be a quiet curiosity about how the current royal family presents itself during such a significant moment. Every appearance, every decision, and every interaction may be viewed through the lens of her legacy. This creates a unique kind of pressure. Honoring the past while managing the present is not an easy task. It requires sensitivity, awareness, and a clear understanding of what the monarchy represents to people around the world. King Charles III, along with Prince William, is expected to navigate this carefully, ensuring that the respect for Queen Elizabeth II is clear while also showing that the institution continues to move forward. The emotional weight of the moment cannot be ignored. For many, the Queen was more than a public figure. She was a symbol of consistency in a rapidly changing world. Reaching what would have been her 100th year brings a sense of both celebration and reflection. It is a reminder of her long life of service, but also of the changes that have taken place since her passing. As all these elements come together, the story becomes richer and more layered. The milestone is not just about remembering the Queen, it becomes a backdrop against which current events are understood. It adds meaning to the conversations about family, leadership, and the future of the monarchy. It also deepens the sense that everything happening now is part of a continuing journey, shaped by both history and present choices. And just as this moment encourages reflection, it also leads to new questions. With so much focus on legacy and transition, many are beginning to wonder how the monarchy will define itself in the years ahead. Will the next generation bring change, or will tradition remain the guiding force? And as these thoughts begin to take shape, the line between what is real and what is being said starts to blur, opening the door to a final and important part of the story, where speculation and truth meet in ways that are not always easy to separate. What's fact versus what's rumor? In today's world, stories move very fast. A small piece of information can quickly grow into something much bigger, especially when it involves a family that people across the globe have followed for generations. The royal family has always been surrounded by attention, but now, with constant updates, social platforms, and endless discussions, even the smallest detail can turn into a headline. This makes it harder to separate what is confirmed from what is only being suggested. When it comes to the idea that William may have taken a strong position regarding Harry and Balmoral, it is important to remember that there has been no official statement confirming such a decision. The story continues to live through reports, interpretations, and repeated conversations. These reports often rely on unnamed sources or observations that are open to different meanings. Because of this, what starts as a possibility can slowly feel like a fact, even when it has not been clearly proven. The same careful thinking applies to the idea of a shift in power. While it is true that King Charles III is now leading and that Prince William is taking on more visible responsibilities, there has been no formal announcement that power has been handed over in a sudden or dramatic way. What people are noticing is a natural process, one that happens over time as roles grow and change. It is steady, quiet, and guided by tradition rather than sudden moves. Understanding this difference is important because it helps bring balance to the story. Without that balance, it becomes easy to believe only the most dramatic version of events. And while those versions may sound exciting, they do not always reflect the full picture. The truth often sits somewhere in the middle, shaped by real events but also surrounded by interpretation. At the same time, it is completely natural for people to be curious. The royal family represents more than just individuals. It stands for history, continuity, and a way of life that has lasted for generations. When changes appear, even small ones, they draw attention because they hint at something bigger. People want to understand where things are heading, especially during a time when leadership is shifting and relationships are evolving. This is why stories about William and Harry continue to hold such strong interest. Their relationship is not just a private matter, it reflects themes that many people understand: family, distance, disagreement, and the hope for reconciliation. These are experiences that go beyond royal life, making the story feel relatable, even within a very unique setting.
I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my...
At the heart of everything is the idea of transition. The monarchy is moving from one chapter to another, carrying the legacy of Queen Elizabeth II while adapting to a new era under King Charles III and looking ahead to Prince William's future role. This transition is not loud or sudden, it is careful and measured, designed to keep stability while allowing gradual change. Because of this, many of the questions being asked today may not have immediate answers. Whether it is about family relationships, private decisions, or future leadership, much of it will unfold over time rather than in a single moment. This can feel frustrating for those who are watching closely, but it also reflects the way the monarchy has always operated, with patience and a strong sense of continuity. However, what remains most powerful about this story is not just the details themselves, but the meaning behind them. It is about a family navigating change under constant attention. It is about balancing personal feelings with public roles. It is about honoring the past while preparing for the future. These layers give the story depth, making it more than just a series of events. As the conversation continues, one thing is certain: people will keep watching, questioning, and trying to understand what lies beneath the surface. The story does not end here. It continues to grow with each new development, each appearance, and each quiet moment that invites interpretation. And perhaps the most intriguing part of all is this: the real truth may not be found in a single report or a single moment, but in the slow unfolding of time itself. Only then will it become clear whether these reports were early signs of deeper change, or simply reflections of a story that the world was eager to tell. So what does this really show about duty, legacy, and the quiet pressure carried by Prince William and Prince Harry? Can personal choices truly exist beside royal expectations? If this gave you a deeper glimpse into the monarchy, like this video, and subscribe for more untold royal stories.